In the cool shadow of our bedroom, the glow from my phone carved out the only source of light, casting a pale blue across the scattered clothes and papers, a chaos mirroring the sudden disorder in my life. Lucy's voice, hours earlier, lingered in my ears. "Just a couple of days in Denver for meetings. Hun, I'll miss you." Her kiss had felt rushed, her eyes darting away too quickly. Now, lying alone, the silence was suffocating. To distract myself, I scrolled through Instagram when her new story icon pulsated, marked close friends. Curiosity, a subtle whisper, urged me on. I tapped. The video played, a sharp jab to my senses. There she was, not alone, not in Denver. Lucy sat in a luxurious, dimly lit lounge, the kind you'd find in a high-end New York hotel, not a business meeting room. Her laughter, a sound I cherished, now stung as it floated out of my phone. But it wasn't her laughter that froze my blood, it was the man whose lap she occupied. A stranger with a smug grin, his hand boldly claiming her as if he had every right. I watched, heart fracturing, as she kissed him, her lips moving with a familiarity that twisted the knife deeper. His hands roamed with a possessiveness that sent a visceral shock through me. How many times had I touched her the same way, assured of my place in her heart? The clip ended, but the sear of betrayal burned on. My breaths came hard and fast. This was no mistake, it was a deliberate, intimate moment shared with someone who wasn't me. A plan began to form, dark and unwelcome, but necessary. Revenge, a concept I'd never entertained in our happy past, now pulsed in my veins. I rose, pacing like a caged animal. My mind raced through our years together, dissecting memories for signs I had refused to see. Had I been blind, or had she been that good at deceiving me? The bedroom felt too small, the house full of ghosts of her laughter, her touch, her deceit. I grabbed my keys and jacket, needing to escape, to think, to plot. The night air was crisp, biting, as I drove nowhere, the city lights blurring past. By the time I returned, dawn was breaking, a sliver of light against the dark horizon of my thoughts. I knew what I had to do. Divorce was inevitable, but first, revenge. She would not walk away from this unscathed. I would ensure she felt a fraction of the pain clawing at me now, a pain that would reshape our lives forever. As the sun rose, so did a new chapter of my life, one where the man Lucy had married evolved into someone she would no longer recognize. But first, I needed proof. Concrete evidence that would stand in court and shatter her facade. It was time to delve deeper into the life Lucy had hidden so well. The plan was simple. Gather evidence, confront her with undeniable facts, watch her world crumble as mine had, and then sever all ties. A clean cut, as sterile and sharp as the morning light now washing over the world, revealing every sordid detail previously cloaked in shadows. My hands trembled with a mix of rage and cold as I sat in my car, staking out the very hotel from Lucy's Instagram story. The luxury facade mocked my turmoil with its gleaming windows and valets in crisp uniforms. I needed hard evidence, and my gut screamed that this place was key. I had called in sick at work, my voice hollow, my lie necessary. Something urgent came up, I told my boss. Now, urgent felt like an understatement as I watched the hotel's entrance like a hawk, camera at the ready. The morning dragged into afternoon. Each couple that emerged twisted a new knot in my stomach, until finally, she appeared. Lucy, her hair perfect, sunglasses masking her eyes, but unable to hide her guilty stride. She wasn't alone. The man from the video, his arm possessively around her waist, laughed at something she said. The sight fueled my resolve. I clicked the camera, the shutter capturing the betrayal in high resolution. They paused, a bellboy talking to them, and I snapped more shots. Not just evidence, but ammunition. I followed at a distance as they walked, seemingly carefree, into a nearby cafe. With my heart pounding against my ribs, I slipped inside and found a secluded spot. I couldn't hear their words, but their body language spoke volumes. Leaning in, whispering, laughing, actions now foreign to our marriage. The waiter approached their table, and I seized my chance. Striding over, I feigned surprise. "Lucy? What a shock!" Aren't you supposed to be in Denver? The color drained from her face as she stammered, Mark. We finished early, Anne. And you didn't think to call your husband? I interrupted, my tone icy, eyes flicking to the man beside her, who shifted uncomfortably. Lucy recovered, her voice sharp. Mark, this is an overreaction. We're just... I cut her off, thrusting the photos in front of her. Just what, Lucy? Networking? Is this him? My finger jabbed at the man's chest, who now stood, anger flaring. Who are you? He squared his shoulders, his reply venomous. Someone who doesn't need to explain himself to you. I turned to Lucy, my voice a controlled calm lethal with hurt. I want the truth, Lucy. Now. Her eyes flickered with something like fear, or perhaps regret, but she said nothing. This isn't over, I promised, my words a quiet storm. As I left the cafe, the weight of the room's gaze pressed down on me, but my path had never been clearer. Outside, the air had turned brisk, echoing the chill inside me. I needed more than photos and public confrontations. I needed to shatter the facade completely. My next step was clear, a private investigator. Someone skilled in unearthing secrets Lucy thought she'd buried deep. I dialed the number from a card I'd been given a long time ago, never imagining I'd need it. Taylor Investigations. How can I help you? Well, the voice on the line was all business. I need someone followed. My wife. I think she's cheating on me. We can handle that, sir. Let's meet and discuss specifics. As I set the meeting, a plan began to crystallize. Lucy's betrayal would not go unanswered. I would dismantle her deceit, piece by painful piece. And when the storm broke, it would wash away everything she'd built away from me. The dingy office of Taylor Investigations was cluttered with files and faded photographs of people caught in acts they thought were private. I sat across from Jack Taylor, a man whose weathered face and keen eyes missed nothing. You have something to start with? Jack's voice was gravelly, accustomed to cutting straight to the chase. I slid the envelope of photographs across the desk to him. She's clever, but she slipped up. I need everything. Who he is, what she's hiding, everything. Jack flipped through the photos with practiced ease, nodding slowly. I've seen this before. We'll tail her, see what we can dig up. You sure you're ready for what we might find? I have to be, I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Over the next few days, the wait was agonizing. I continued my routines mechanically, every ring of the phone jolting me with anticipation. Finally, Jack called. We need to meet. In the back booth of a rundown diner, Jack laid out his findings. Photos and detailed reports outlined Lucy's duplicity. Not only had she been with this man, but there were others, each encounter a betrayal. How many? My voice was a hoarse whisper. Enough to prove this wasn't a one-time mistake, Jack said, sliding a folder towards me. Plus, we found something else. She's been funneling money into a separate account. Looks like she's planning more than just casual affairs. The information hit me like a physical blow. Not just infidelity, but premeditated deception involving our finances. What do you want to do? Jack's question was pointed, heavy with implication. I thought of the life I believed we had, all now tainted. I want her to pay. I want her exposed. Jack nodded, understanding the path I'd chosen. I know a guy, specializes in persuasive tactics. Not clean, but effective. Set it up, I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. The following night, under the shadow of anonymity that dusk provided, I watched from a distance as the man Jack recommended worked. He confronted Lucy as she left her office, his presence menacing. I couldn't hear the words, but the fear in Lucy's posture was evident. She rushed to her car, fumbling with her keys, a clear sign her world was beginning to crumble. Later, at home, Lucy was a mess, her composure shattered. Someone approached me, threatened me. Mark, I'm scared. Seeing her unravel, Part of me ached to comfort her, but the bitter taste of betrayal was too strong.
Why would someone threaten you, Lucy? What are you hiding?
Her eyes darted away, then back, fear mingling with defiance. It's not what you think. I can explain. I stepped closer, my voice low. I know about the affairs, Lucy. The money.
What else is there?
Tears filled her eyes, but I was beyond sympathy. I'm sorry, Mark. I never meant for any of this to happen. Sorry doesn't even begin to cover it. The coldness in my voice was foreign, even to me. As she sobbed, I left the room, her cries echoing behind me. The next steps were clear: legal and financial protection, followed by the inevitable, painful severing of our marriage. But first, I needed to secure everything she could no longer be trusted with. I locked myself in the study, poring over bank statements and securing assets. Each password changed, each document secured felt like a reclaiming of the life she had tried to steal from under me. Retribution was in motion, unstoppable and necessary. As I fortified my position, preparing for the fallout, the weight of the coming storm hung heavy in the air, a tempest of my own making. The final days of our marriage ticked by with the grim inevitability of a storm rolling in. I moved with precision, each step meticulously planned. The time for raw emotion had passed, now was the moment for cold, calculated retribution. I had everything arranged for our final confrontation. The papers were ready, the evidence was damning, and my lawyer was on standby. The living room, once a place of shared dreams and laughter, was now the stage for the final act of our disintegrating marriage. Lucy walked in, her face pale, her eyes wary. She knew this was not a simple evening at home. The documents were laid out on the coffee table, a silent testament to the depth of her betrayal. "Sit down, Lucy. We need to finish this," I said, my voice devoid of any warmth I had once felt for her. She took a seat, her hands trembling slightly. "Mark, Save it," I interrupted. "I know everything. This," I gestured to the papers, "is the end." Her eyes scanned the documents, bank statements, photos, even transcripts of her messages. Her face crumpled as she read, the final realization of her entrapment dawning on her. "Mark, please, I can explain." "I don't need your explanations, Lucy. I need you to sign these papers. They're the only thing I want from you now." As she hesitated, I leaned in, my voice a whisper laced with venom. "If you don't sign, the next copies go to your boss, your friends, and your family. Everyone will know who you really are." The threat hung heavy between us. With a stifled sob, she picked up the pen and began signing, her hand shaking with each stroke. I watched, satisfaction mixing with the remnants of my pain. Once she was done, I didn't waste a moment. "You need to leave tonight. I don't want to see you again." She looked up, her eyes pleading. "Mark, I loved you. Your love is as fake as the life you pretended to lead. Goodbye, Lucy." As she slowly stood, her entire posture spoke of defeat. She moved towards the door, then paused, looking back as if hoping for a sign of reconciliation. Finding none, she left, the soft click of the door marking the end of our shared life. With Lucy gone, I felt a hollow victory. My revenge was complete, but the taste was bitter. I sat back, the quiet of the house enveloping me. The shadows seemed longer, the silence louder. A week later, my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Reluctantly, I answered, ready to disconnect at the first hint of Lucy's voice. "Is this Mark?" a male voice asked, unfamiliar and cautious. "Yes." "Who's this?" "I'm Detective Larson. I'm calling about Lucy. There's been an accident." The word struck me harder than I expected. "What kind of accident?" "It appears she was targeted. We found signs of a struggle, and I'm sorry to inform you, she didn't survive." The phone nearly slipped from my grasp. Revenge had been my goal, but her death? That was never part of the plan. Guilt, sharp and unwelcome, pierced through the numbness. Had my actions pushed someone else into harming her? We'd like to ask you some questions, given the circumstances surrounding your divorce. Of course, I managed to say, my mind racing. The line clicked off, and I was left staring at the shadows creeping across the room. In seeking retribution, had I sparked a chain of events that led to this? The victory I had envisioned was ashes in my mouth, the satisfaction replaced by a gnawing regret that would likely haunt me forever. In my ruthless quest for revenge, I had lost more than just a wife, I had lost a part of myself, too, swallowed up in the dark abyss of hatred and betrayal. Now, I had to face the consequences, however they might unfold.